Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is KarQ. We got more Overwatch hot takes. We're back, and here we go. First take of the week is hot take: Overwatch should slow down or stop taking these big swings, like Shohei Ohtani, that they've been doing, or Aaron Judge. The game is in a great spot right now, with perks and stadium being great additions. However, I think if these types of big changes continue to come to the game, then a lot of extra bloat would be added to the game and take away from the core Overwatch experience that made everyone love the game. I would rather see more frequent smaller swings like perk overhauls and character reworks. I would disagree with this. I actually think that Overwatch should continue taking big swings. They did small swings for far too long and it stagnated the game, and big swings like this were perfect. Now, that being said, taking a big swing and actually hitting it out of the park, like, you know, perks have been and how stadium have been, now you can fine tune it a little bit and maybe slow down slightly, and I think they are. I don't think there's anything as grandiose as stadium coming again, because that was like 3-year development project. Like, if they just suddenly like come out next season being like, oh, by the way, we have another big ass mode that we've been working on, that would be a true surprise. And then that's where I would actually be like, I agree with you. Okay, a little too much right now. Let's fix and dial up and rebalance stadium and make sure perks are perfect for the foreseeable future before we continue moving on. The game has actually recovered quite a bit from community sentiment and from a gameplay perspective. I'm in love with the game again, so I do think it's good. Next hot take is I would rather have the maps be a bit more simplistic and less detailed. That's the take. There is way too much clutter on the Overwatch 2 maps, and it makes movement-based characters like Lucio, Genji, Mercy Ball, and Doom so frustrating to play when you're constantly getting caught on lampposts, ledges, and signs. I would agree. I actually feel like they could remove some of the clutter, or at least make the clutter destructible where it doesn't actually obstruct your movement. For example, if you actually play the game on like model detail setting on low, it actually removes a lot of the destructible or like invisible assets that, like, if somebody played on low detail, they would never see, but if you're on high detail, you'd see it. But like, if you shoot it, it would instantly disappear. Like, for example, on Blizzard World, you get balloons on the first point. On like Dorado, you get a lot of hanging festival decorations on the first point, but you just don't see them on low detail. Those are like uninteractable things, and I think those are fine because they can be removed with the setting. Like the hard objects that like have no reason being there, I agree. We can just remove them. I don't think it takes away any part of the map by any means. I think it makes the gameplay feel better, and I think the aesthetic can still be retained and the identity of the map can still be preserved without these very minor details. My personal gripe is third point Rialto. There is these little like floor lamps that like shine against the wall, and I've had that block in my Onanade before. I was just like, why is that there? Like, that adds nothing to the map, and all it did was just annoy me and like make it so like when somebody's backing up, they just get stuck. Another one is like the garbage can on second point Circuit Royale. I remember like trying to back up from an enemy, or like I think it was like a Hanzo Dragon. It's like that big pole by the checkpoint, or the big post, and then there's a garbage can. I'm backing up and I'm like, why the fuck am I stuck? And I turn around and my ass is wedged between the garbage can and the post, and I'm like, dude, remove the fucking garbage can. Like, what is this doing in here? Nobody's gonna remember that there's a garbage can missing, and nobody's gonna remember that there's that lamp, little floor lamp like missing from the third point Rialto. So fully agree, not a hot take. Next hot take is, man, they really need to revert their dumb decision about hero bans. Such a brain dead thing for them to do. How so, though? Obviously, like, every change like a developer adds is never gonna please everybody. You're gonna have one aspect of the community that enjoys hero bans, and then one aspect that hates it because the hero that they play gets banned. Overwatch is kind of juggling between their identity, between being a casual game. They were afraid of hero bans for a long time from players like you, and I'm just, it's totally valid. Like, some people are just like, I just want to play the game casually. I don't want to like log in and just like have my hero permanently banned. Then I'm not having fun. And like, your opinion does matter, right? But then they were juggling with that, and they went with that for 8-9 years. Although they had that small phase of hero bans where they arbitrarily picked bans for the week or whatever for a couple of weeks at some point in like mid 2018. 2019, I don't even remember. It's many years ago. But because they went there for so long and the game was like ticking kind of like a dip. Like, let's be real, when Marvel Rivals came out, people were like, oh my god, hero bans are a great thing. It's like a self-medicated way for players to kind of have agency to kind of control how they want to play their game. They want to get rid of heroes that they feel are either A, too strong, or B, very annoying, or C, targeted to someone who's really good and talented. And it kind of makes that competitive experience a lot more fun if you play competitive. And I think they saw that and they're like, you know what, Marvel kind of just proved that the hero shooter genre for this specifically does work, so let's add it. So I don't think it's brain dead. You can see there's a lot of thought put into it where they're just like, let's just actually dial in and swap from the casual perspective, just let everybody play whatever they want, to actual hero bans. And honestly, Overwatch's implemented hero ban system is a lot better. I like their weighted system way more than Rivals, where you kind of just like either no ban or It's a duplicate ban on both teams and randomized, to be honest with you, by a percentage. I disagree. I think if you play a hero that is constantly banned right now, we saw the ban rates recently revealed in the director's take. It's time to learn a new hero, or it just may not be your meta and might be time for you to take a break. But it's like one of those things they have to weigh at the expense of a couple of players who main Sombra who stop playing, or they main Freya and they can't play Freya in that. I mean, you can play other modes, but man, they can't play Sombra or they can't play Diva right now in ranked very often. But then the other, that's like what, 5 heroes that are constantly banned on average across many ranks. That's like 39 other heroes in the game that you can play, and 39 other players who main the other heroes that are like, oh great, now these 5 heroes are out, now I'm having a good time. So 39 compared to the 5 players who hate the hero bans. You know what I'm trying to get at? I'm not gonna bother explaining. Let's move on. Hot take, they should do the not this again, PvE as they promised, because then what's the point of having the 2 in the title? Yes, we know they fucked up. They said, yes, we messed up, and they're just continuing on the core aspect. They had to bite the bullet and just eat it at this point, and they know. I don't think they should do the PvE at this point. I actually, like, I've said this many times on this channel that I think they scrapped it because I actually think it was trash. Like, straight up, no replayability. Like, we played some of these early missions and like they're okay, they're like not bad, but the replayability was ass. People would buy it, play it once, never play it again. And that's how it was with the missions. Can you honestly say that with with all these mission levels and PvE that it would be replayed nonstop? No, unless they had some sort of like reward system, like loot that you could acquire for like completing the raid or completing the mission, like it's an MMO. They'd have to gamify it like crazy and make it like a Destiny raid, PvE experience with bosses and mechanics and all that stuff. And with the way I saw it, how some of their missions that were like planned to be released as part of it, like that was not going to work long term. No way. So I'm glad they actually just cut the cord on that. Sucks, but it is what it is. We just gotta move on, and Overwatch is a PvP game. They should drop the 2 though. I do agree. There is no point of having the 2 in it at this point. Although people are saying they've earned the 2 title now, 3 years later, after dropping all these new modes, because it does feel more like a sequel. But all in all, it still kind of feels like the same game, and they could probably go back to like the original name. Kind of like when League of Legends changes their maps and stuff all the time, it refreshes it. Doesn't mean it's League of Legends 2 or League of Legends 3. Hot take, map voting shouldn't be added in the game yet. It would make things stall quickly, as there aren't enough good maps for each mode. Reworks and additions should be made first before adding the voting option. I don't want to play the same 5 maps on repeat no matter how good they are. Well, I don't think you're going to be able to play 5 of the same maps on repeat. If anything, that is not possible, because Overwatch actually has one of the biggest map pools I've seen in a competitive shooter, like by far. At least 9-10 years in, we have like over 40 maps across like many different game modes, and if you count all the sub maps on Control, it's like 50, even like 60 or something like that. Something insane. If you're just voting out 1 or 2 maps for between each, mathematically there's like no way you're gonna play the same 5 maps in a row. There's days where I play for 8 hours and there's just maps I don't see all day right now. You know what I mean? So like, the math ain't math in here. Hot take, Sojourn is not OP considering the skill needed to use her. You need to master a projectile primary and hit scan headshots. Well, the projectile primary is the easiest part of her kit, let's be real here, which feels weird to swap to. I disagree. Having your only reliable kill ability as a reward that is unavailable until you land enough low damage projectiles is fair. I actually am okay with that last part. Let's unpack this. Sojourn is not OP considering the skill needs to use her. She is a high skill ceiling hero. You have to see if they have like outlier levels of damage, and she used to. Like, if we think back to original Sojourn with like the Sombra multiplier, she was doing like 200 plus on a headshot rail. Is insane. They've nerfed the rail a lot right now, and she's a lot more manageable. She's one of those heroes that performs poorly in low ranks, like low 40% win rate, but it is not even like a super high above 50% win rate in the high ranks. Like, mathematically, still kind of like moderate in the low, like high 48s or 49%, even on amongst the best players in ranked, which is crazy to see when you see the true stats behind it. But of course, we gotta look at player perception, and everybody's player perception is that Sojourn is the server admin. But I disagree. I don't think she's OP, but I think she's very lethal in the right hands. But then that could also be said for so many heroes. So like, I never add to the whole Sojourn is OP discussion unless she truly is feeling like a crazy outlier, which she did when her rail was a lot higher. It's been nerfed considerably, where I feel like it's pretty respectable. When I say other heroes have the same problem, it's kind of like Tracer or Widowmaker. In the hands of a right player, of the best player, a good Sojourn, a good Widow, a good Tracer just runs the lobby no matter what. But I think high skill ceiling heroes should be rewarded in that sense, but they should have some decent counterplay and some ways to kind of maneuver around it. I feel like Tracer has the least amount of play against depending on the map in solo queue, and Widow depending on the map. But Sojourn actually feels kind of like doable. She has one slide and that's it. But all in all, what I'm trying to say is I agree. I don't think she's OP, but she's frustrating to play against as well. So that kind of also goes and ties into the hero bans that we mentioned earlier, where players can kind of like self-regulate what they want their experience to be like. Maybe you don't mind Widow, but you hate Sombra. Or sorry, you hate Sojourn, so you ban Sojourn. High priority. And there's a good chance you don't see it anymore, so that's okay, right? But for me, like someone like me, I don't actually care about banning Sombra. I don't mind playing against Sombra, but the majority of the population does, but I don't. So my experience would be like, I'm just gonna ban something else. I'll ban Widowmaker because I hate playing against Widowmaker. Next hot take is matchmaking is my main issue with Stadium right now as well. Not a hot take. We know it's kind of ass. I've stopped playing the mode for now because I don't enjoy most games being either us stomping or getting stomped. That's just lame. That said, the mode has potential and I will return to check it out and see if matchmaking has improved in the future, and also to check out the new heroes. Pretty reasonable take. It's the first season of anything and people's like ranks were not calibrated because everybody had to start at a fixed rank. They did mention that they probably snapshotted, I think, the quick play MMR as soon as the mode came out. So that's roughly kind of where you began, which is actually good because like if it was true random matchmaking at the beginning, it would have been hell to have like a true legit bronze player like play into, like it still kind of happens now, but like a true random RNG every teammate and you just have completely mismatched stuff would be too chaotic. 10 years into the game, 9 years into the game, excuse me. So a snapshot of quick play MMR is a good start because a lot of people's quick play games feel relatively challenging. Not all of them, but like a lot of them do, right? Some people have quoted quick play feels sweatier than ranked in a lot of times. So there you go. I think the kind of wide array of skills, because some people just haven't played Stadium, but they're very talented players and they queue in. So it can feel kind of bad early on, but when things normalize over time, I don't think they're gonna like MMR or like hard rank reset every season for Stadium. Maybe the front facing rank, but the MMR should stay relatively the same. Matchmaking can only be improved as people continue to play games and they gather data from it. So yeah, it's fine to completely take a break from it and come back later if matchmaking is a big problem. Agreed. Hot take, people enjoy playing on maps more when they like the aesthetic of it. Even if one map is objectively better, the player base will still like the subjective one. I don't necessarily agree with this. I will agree that that's one reason to like the map and think it's very pretty, but if it plays like ass, it plays like ass. Depends on the person you ask, so this is a pretty broad blanket statement that would not apply to someone like me, which is why I would disagree. Like, I think Paris looked great. I think Hanamura looked great. I was like, oh my god, pretty. Cherry blossoms. But the map played like ass. The game mode played like ass. Tight choke points, first and second point. Ugh. Next hot take, counter swapping is punk mentality. Hard counters are not real. There are always ways to play around it. It depends on how you define what hard and soft is. And everyone's threshold for that is a little bit different. Truly, if you play like other fighting games and like a matchup chart, it's like a hard counter can still be played around and adapted around. It's never going to be a 100-0. You play this, I play this, it's impossible to win. That's not true. Like worst case, it's like 40-60, like a 40%, 35%, like that's already kind of extreme. Like 40-60, like you can still win 4 out of 10 games if it's truly just a matchup problem. But then again, it's usually multiple things. This is not a 1v1 game. This is a team game. So like you have many ways to play around bad or hard counters in a lot of cases. It's an option. It'll be a little bit more difficult, a little bit of an uphill battle, but very much doable. Next take. I agree that supports are more proactive in 5v5 compared to 6v6. I agree. But I disagree that it's only tanks that want 6v6 for synergies. I may have said that before. I apologize. You're right. It's a very broad blanket statement of me to say only tanks like 6v6. Majority of tanks probably enjoyed it more thanks to the synergy, but let's hear your perspective because you said, I find DPS to be much more fun than 6v6 for many reasons. Main one being there's just more enemies to shoot at, larger ultimate kill combo potentials. But the less obvious reason is that each tank is actually powered down and thus becomes a kill target for me to pressure. So it feels like I have 2 more targets of pressure than 1 more as it would imply. In 5v5, these giga tanks can make it really unfun to play DPS because they can just push you off out of your off angle with their broken stats and passive, which disallow me any dueling potential. It's a very fair and valid perspective. Another big hitbox to shoot, get those dopamine hits as like a Sojourn on an off ankle, hearing those dink sounds. I don't really have anything to add to this take. I can see where you're coming from. Next hot take, Freya is starting to get as annoying as Sombra. I'm surprised people don't ban that flying AK-47 with braids more often, and I can see this was quoted 6 days ago. I'm happy to let you know that Freya is being banned at an increased rate. They released the ban rates director's take 2 days ago. I think I put it up on this channel, and we have a graph showing her ban rate on average in the big graph, and then like we can see her ban rate over time. Like lately in the recent days, it's way higher. Every single day it's climbing. People are getting tired of dealing with it. They're seeing the OWCS being played. There's OWCS Korea, OWCS everywhere, and you can see Freya being either pick and banned almost every game right now. 2CP and Assault can work. Hear me out. First, think about some common criticisms about the mode, including the first points choke being annoying for attackers and simultaneously difficult to defend. The second point, has more attack openings, but defenders spawn right next to the point. In Overwatch 1, when 2 CP was removed from comp, as well as some maps removed in quick play, the devs said that they could not make the mode work without large map reworks. With the higher frequency of map reworks we're getting in Overwatch 2, I think 2CP functioning is a possibility. The first area can have more entryways for attackers, and the second area can have the defenders spawn much further back. The way both of these can work is if the capture time for each point is longer as well, giving time for defenders to reclaim the first point when attackers inevitably use their advantage to claim that space. The second point wouldn't have the extreme outcomes. For example, an instant attacker's win after a team wipe or stall fest from the defenders. I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, no dev specifically told me, but like, you're a game dev company, 2CP was removed. I'm sure somebody's thought of adding extra choke points or finding different solutions, and I'm pretty sure it was like play tested internally at some point, kind of just like a polygon base of like a 2CP map, and you open a couple more chokes just to see how it feels or plays. And even if that would relieve it, sometimes just like the 2 capture point system with constantly switching sides and how long some of the stall fests are, I just don't think it was fun. It's kind of like how Clash came out and like, you know, they tried and tried, but like honestly, it's not that fun. I'm glad they're still able to reuse some of it for Stadium right now. And honestly, I don't mind it in Stadium because it's a lot quicker and less grueling, but I think long stalled fights with close spawns feels too cumbersome, and like no matter what you do here, I think like that's going to inevitably be a problem. It feels less tactical and more about people just coming out and just throwing their body on the point, and less about like, you know, strategically setting up. I mean, you start off with that for defenders, but like the attackers will just barrel in through one choke, and then maybe if you add a few more, but like once you you lose one fight on first point, like the whole point's over. Second point, like you said, is the opposite, where it just feels like a stall fest. I just don't think the mode itself was very fun, and I think we have like what, 6 or 7 game modes in the game already with Flashpoint and Push and all that stuff, and I think we're in a pretty good spot where there's a decent amount of varied game modes. Just having an increased amount of maps over time is like a good place to stop here. All right, last one of the week, hot take: Overwatch should be entirely projectiles and melee. I saw this on stream and we clipped it and put it in here. You're thinking of a fighting game, my friend. Hadokens, heavy medium punch, drive rush cancel into a medium, into a Tatsu, into a Shoryuken, into your ulti. You're thinking of Street Fighter, and that's what you should play, and I think that's what you play. Anyways, that's it for this week's hot takes. Thanks for listening. Peace. Add some more into the comments.